Yeah.
So I started this because I felt when I was in this situation that I needed this support. I wanted to speak with people who experiencing the same what I experienced. And I, for the longest while, was playing with this idea, but couldn't put myself together for it. And then, thanks to the community where I'm hanging out with, Felicity and other people, they basically said, just do it. So here we are. We are doing it. And I wanted to welcome everybody. I wanted to thank Kim to find, she found, enthusiasm to join me on it. She is actually very dedicated to this for her own reasons, and we will have chance to talk about it. I wanted to first to show you our um, agenda for today, so you will see what we are going to have.
Mhm.
So this is the welcome screen, and the next one is that we will do the introduction. I already started on that part. Uh, Kim will talk about the theory because this is what a lot of caregivers don't get. This is what a lot of caregivers are missing because who is going to the doctor? The person who has this diagnosis. What does the caregivers? Stay at home and wait for report. Do they get the full report? Most likely not. I personally didn't. I've always heard, oh, everything is okay. Doctor is saying I'm doing well. How's your blood work? Oh, it's good. And this is all I got for 11 years. And when I started going with my husband to those um, meetings with doctors, I noticed that yes, doctor is saying everything okay. Why? Because he is not reporting about the problem. Why? Because he doesn't think about it. And then I will bring up the problem and the doctor will respond. And then I will remind or ask about something else and doctor will respond and we get much better understanding. But for 11 years, I was in the dark. I was not going. So I want everybody to know that there are a lot of us who are in the same boat and we need extra education. And this is what this crash course is designed for, to give you information that you may find on the internet, but here we put it together in 2 hours little event. So the most important you will know, and then you definitely, please educate yourself more and as much as you get. All right. So, doctors at the meetings very often talking to you like you already know it. But it's hard to believe that not everybody knows what A1C means, especially if you are not the patient. So that's one of the another reason, another moment why you need to get the education, and here it is. We will talk about nutrition. Again, we all heard so much from our parents and teachers and everybody. Good nutrition. Nobody explained us what does it mean and what does it mean from the diabetic standpoint, which is a little bit different than general population, right? Uh, Everybody who gets diagnosed goes through emotional turbulence. And not only them, caregivers go through this themselves. I was terrified for weeks. I didn't know how to manage my personal emotions, and we will be talking about this a little bit. We also will talk about how you can help the most effective way, because very often we want to help, but we don't know how to help. You will have a chance to ask questions and we will answer those. And I also will share with you my new initiative, and you are always welcome to participate in that. Yes, Iris.
Yes, I just want to say that some of us are our own caregivers. We're the patient and the caregiver. And It's not that I don't find any help from my husband, but I guess he figures, you're a nurse, you know what you're doing,
Yes,
you know, that's it. So it's really just not for the caregiver for the person. It sometimes can be
you
the
are
one and only. And there's
you're
always
absolutely
something new
right.
for me to learn.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And also,
So,
when you participate from this standpoint, you may give us a clue how we could be more effective. And for you, it could be maybe you learn something what you can help and expect your husband with, because as caregivers, we are going through a lot of emotional stress as well.
mhm.
So this is basically the introduction and who I am. I started the Smart Move 360 company and Diabetes 101 for Beginners Facebook group. And my goal is to educate as many people as it's possible about diabetes so they could avoid the circumstances that my family had to go through. I lost my husband due to complications from diabetes, and complications happened because we were not very consistent in what we were doing, but we were not very educated either. So I organize events like this one, for example, and I appreciate you joining us here. And Kim is registered dietitian, and she is also what is CDC. Well, Kim, please tell about yourself.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm just so glad to be here. And Rena, I'm so glad that one day it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have anything to do. I just scrolled Facebook and I'm looking for how can I support my community outside of my job? And I found Diabetes 101 for caregivers. And I thought I was in trouble because I did, have my, I guess, my dietitian stamp there. And Arena contacted me right away. I'm like, oh no, maybe I did something wrong or said something wrong.
That happened to
And she's
me.
like, no, I would love for you to join the group. So let me just give you a little, I'm going to share my screen if that's okay, Arena, and just give you a little bit of information on me. Let me go ahead and set this up and we will get started just to have something fun to look at. All right, let's go back here to the beginning. I have been in practice as a diabetes educator, and I've been in practice as a dietitian for 24 years. But as a diabetes educator, it'll be 19 years in about 2 weeks. And I've been at the same practice, which is amazing. I love my job. And that's the reason I'm here today, because I was going to end up in Aruba or Tahiti, where Iris is, because that was my path. I wanted to be a hotel manager in a tropical location.
Mm.
And wasn't be the plan, and that's okay. It really was my first step into being a caregiver. So my father is the one who had type 2 diabetes, but actually his parents did too. I just didn't really understand why they were sick all the time and why they had to go to the doctors. And I didn't really know why my grandma had to have her at the time. It was one of her losing her legs with diabetes, but it was from that. And my grandmother was a very strong-willed woman, and she's like, I'm going to eat what I eat, and she suffered the consequences, and she knew that. But a lot of my patients don't know that. And so that's why when my dad was diagnosed with diabetes, I just had the picture of my grandma in my head, like, oh, this is not going to happen to you. So I gave up my dream of going to a tropical location, and I went back to at school, college, actually, at the age of 25. I hated school, but I was going to go back, and I was going to figure this thing out called diabetes, and I was going to be a registered dietitian. So, my dad, just like his mother, is a very strong-headed man, and it was not easy. I now love the most difficult patients because that's reminds me of my dad. Just they want to do it their way, and you almost have to let them. But you are, and we're going to talk about this in a moment, but you are almost the the mirror, the guide in a gentle way, and I'll show you what that looks like. So gentle interventions for the whole family. Everybody should be in on it, but you are not the food police. You know, nobody wants to be told they can or can't have something. But I thank Arena for bringing me into her new caregiver group, which is so beautiful. I love helping people with diabetes, and this is my mission statement. My job is to help my patients and caregivers understand that you can absolutely avoid complications from diabetes. And it's not, doesn't have to be the strictest diet or the strictest exercise plan, but I want to show you how you can really achieve this with your family member or friend with diabetes. I've seen it. I've been doing my job. My dad, lasted 31 extra years with us, where had our family not intervened, he may not have survived as long as he did, or he would have suffered complications like my grandmother did. So it was really worth it, that my dad had an advocate for him. I know not every patient has that, and that's what we're here for. That's what Arena made this group for. Well, now you do. Now you do have some support, somebody to help you through this. So I am a registered dietitian. RD is a protected initial. So when you see somebody with an RD after their name, they have gone through education, classes, certification. We keep up our continuing education. We have to take an exam. We have to recertify every 5 years. So there's a lot that goes into an RD initial. Online, I do see a lot of nutritionist labels. Anybody can be a nutritionist. That's not protected. So I do want to honor my credential. It's, hard fought, but I got there. It was not easy. I hated school. Remember, I hated that. And this was a lot of science and math and organic chemistry. And oh my gosh, those are just nightmares. And then because I'm a dietitian, I was able to sit for the diabetes care and education exam. And that was a very long exam as well. And I do recertify for that every 5 years. So I know a little bit about diabetes. I've been doing this. I've cared for anybody with diabetes, type 1 diabetes, gestational diabetes, which is my current job. I focus on my mommies and my babies, and diabetes is my passion, and that's really what I'm so excited to talk to you guys about today. How you, as a caregiver, can get support, but you have to have some knowledge too. You can't go into this blind. So Arena, do you want to say anything more before I go
No,
on to this
please
full
go ahead.
spiel?
This is our part to get some knowledge, to get some information, the basics that a lot of times caregivers do not get when they are staying at home and don't go to doctor's offices. So please continue.
Wonderful, I will. So I will ask a lot of questions when I meet somebody for the first time. They might have had just diagnosed with diabetes a week sooner, or they've had diabetes for 20, 30 years. And I always ask them, do you really know what diabetes is? 9 times out of 10, I'm like, I hear from them, I really don't. I really don't know why I have this, what happened, what happened to my body. And the doctors aren't explaining that. They don't have time. So when you come to my clinic, because I'm an outpatient dietitian, I can have up to 2 hours with you, which is a wonderful opportunity to slow everything down. Let's just get some backgrounds here. So the one word you have heard, but you need to know why this is almost the most important information that you need as a caregiver. Insulin is a hormone that we all have in our body, made by our beta cells that live in our pancreas. So insulin is in our beta cells, and those beta cells live in our pancreas. We are born with all of those beta cells. We're born with them. If anything happens to those beta cells, then the hormone insulin is also impaired or destroyed. So insulin is the only way we have in our body to get sugar out of the blood and to the cells that need it. That's important because before insulin was invented, our people who had type 1 diabetes or their beta cells and insulin was completely destroyed, they had high blood sugar, but no way to get that sugar to their cells, and they literally starved to death.
Mm.
So this is a very important part of understanding what is diabetes and what's happening to my body or your loved one's body, your friend's body. It's the insulin, the beta cell that lives in the pancreas, some way is impaired. We must have this process. We must have this to live, to fuel the body from the head to the toe and to live an energized life. So insulin is extremely important. So, I've been telling everybody for years, I have kind of like a visual of what, blood sugar is in the body, but I love this because this exactly is what happens to your blood vessel. So this is your blood vessel, and all that traffic could be your sugars. Your sugars will stack up in your blood vessel unless there's a way to get them out. Now, you could eat a lot of foods that cause blood sugars to be higher, like in a large portion. This could happen. And then insulin's job is to come into this traffic area and go, okay, let's start getting you guys out of here. Insulin's response is instant if they're working the way they're supposed to. And so what insulin does, it comes into that traffic jam of blood sugars that are in your blood vessel and starts getting them off the exit. And the ultimate resting place for blood sugar, which is our body's energy. In my world, sugar is not a four-letter word. It is not a bad word. Sugar is energy. Sugar is life. All food at some point is going to break down in the simplest form to blood sugar. So let's not call that a bad word. It's actually a good word. So diabetes is just a buildup of sugar in your bloodstream longer. Our blood vessels are not meant to store sugar. Our blood vessels are just transportation. So when we get a traffic jam and we get the blood sugar stuck inside of the blood vessel, damage is starting to happen. I often consider high blood sugar almost like sandpaper on the inside of your arteries. Your arteries are very strong. They're a big tube. But if you have a lot of sugar in there, it slowly, doesn't happen immediately. This is years. It slowly reduces the integrity of your arteries. So your arteries are more flimsy and it's not as strong. We're not getting the nutrition and the sugar through the arteries as quick as we need to. And that's causes the damage, especially in our very, very teeny tiny arteries in our eyes, in our heart, in our kidneys. That's why these are the first places we see damage from diabetes. Diabetes is just a word. The damage comes from the stacking up of those blood sugars. So we got to find a way to get them out of the blood as quick as possible. And the first way is with your body's insulin. So we want to get it off, get the exit, stop that traffic jam, and insulin is going to open up that door so that sugar can get out of the blood vessel and let's send it to a cell that needs energy. Our hair, our eyes, our heart, our muscles, everything in our body runs on energy. Insulin is the only part of our body that touches every single cell because it's almost like you're holding hands. Like if you're a couple or you have a child and you hold their hands to escort them across the street, that's literally what insulin's doing to sugar. It's grabbing sugar and say, hey, I'm going to help you find a place to go where your body needs energy. And insulin escorts the sugar, gets it off the exit, gets it into the parking lot, so your body can have energy. Now, we can have an excess of blood sugar, and insulin's really great at, don't worry, I can make a new cell for you, or I can ask your body, and let's store it as body fat. We'll save it for a rainy day. So if you get it out quickly, that's wonderful. That saves your arteries and that prevents damage. But is it going to go if your body already has enough? Well, we store it for later. And that's how we store sugar as body fat. Very, very, very simply. There's a lot of other things that go into it, but for now, that's the easiest explanation. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I do. When you talk about blood cells, does it matter whether it's white or red, or that's just immaterial in the picture?
It's your red blood cell.
It is red. That's what I
It
thought.
is
Okay.
definitely the red. It's not the white blood cell. White blood cells are for fighting infection and
Infection.
bacteria, and we do
Right.
have those, and they definitely increase when we're sick.
Hmm.
But the red blood cell carries oxygen, blood sugar,
Hmm.
reason why. So you want that integrity of your artery to be strong because our furthest away from our heart is our toes. Isn't that where we often find
Hmm.
damage first with neuropathy and the pins and the needles? Because the blood vessel is that used to. So the healing nutrition, the oxygen is not getting there quick enough. It's, as you can see, diabetes is just not, there's a lot going on underneath inside the body. So having just a general understanding of what's going on, I think really changes people's perspective. It's like, oh, maybe it's not my fault. Maybe I shouldn't blame myself and hold that guilt. And as a caregiver, you're going to need to remind your loved one in front of that, listen, it's okay. It's happened. We can find a way to solve it, but don't blame yourself. Just move forward. And it's always not looking back, looking forward. What can we do about it now? There are signs as a caregiver that you want to look out for. Not obvious, but it's having high blood sugar. They're going to have some symptoms alongside. Now, prediabetes so has symptoms, and those are in black color, and the symptoms of high blood sugars or somebody that's already has type 2 diabetes is in the red color. So when the sugar is higher longer, we can start to see our A1C go up, which is a 3-month look at our past blood sugars. So in A1C, we're literally siphoning out those red blood cells that have the most sugar on them. And the red blood cells that have the most sugar on them are 3 months old. And then they burst and our body reabsorbs them. So we want to find those 3-month-old red blood cells and we want to measure how thick is that sugar around that blood vessel, because that's how sugar is transported by your red blood cell. And we measure that in a percent. So if you're starting to creep into the 5.7, 5.8, you have prediabetes. The good news is it's reversible. We can get you out of prediabetes so quickly, you'll never have to worry about type 2 diabetes ever, ever, ever. But once the A1C gets over 6.5 or higher, yes, now we might have some damage to the beta cells. We kind of know insulin's not working the way it's supposed to. So you have type 2 diabetes. Certainly we can reverse it, but it can come back very easily because it's been a longer time that the blood sugars have been higher and there is some damage. Although very, very slight, it can happen. Somebody who has a high blood sugar, and oftentimes I'll ask them, what sent you to the hospital? It's like, I couldn't stop drinking. I was drinking everything I could get my hands on. It was just insatiable. I was so thirsty. And that's your body's way of trying to get rid of the sugar. So your body will take all the fluid from your eyes, from your mouth, you have a dry mouth, from every part of your body, your skin, and try to flush that sugar out. And so you become very dehydrated. So and often people are saying, I was drinking soda, I was drinking juice, I didn't know what was going on with my body. And it can be terrifying to have that feeling like I can't quench my thirst. If the sugar is stuck in your blood and it can't get to your cells, you can feel extremely weak, very lethargic. You can't even lift your head off the pillow. So as a caregiver, if you notice these signs and symptoms, it's a nudging, hey, let's go to the doctor. Maybe it's time we get something checked. You don't look right. You don't look like yourself. You're tired and you were energetic 2 months ago or 3 months ago, and now I can't get you out of the house. Frequent urination. If your body is trying to get rid of the sugar, you're going to pee more. And I hear this every single time I have a new patient in with diabetes. Well, I was drinking more, so I was peeing more. I didn't think that was a big deal. It's a big deal. For prediabetes, and I have these, and I didn't realize this was an actual symptom of the higher blood sugars just leading into the prediabetes are the skin tags around your neck. I didn't know that. I have skin tags. I got my A1C checked. I have prediabetes. It happened after menopause. I'm telling you, menopause, when you lose that estrogen, you lose a really good part of your body hormone that can help you regulate your blood sugar. So, prediabetes, yeah, but that was very interesting for me to be diagnosed with that. Certainly, took some steps and got rid of that, but it can happen very quickly, and that could be a sign. So you might consider yourself maybe. Many of my patients, especially my patients who have darker skin, and you can see a very defined ring right their neck. And that is another sign of insulin resistance, not type 2 diabetes, but something is going on. And we see that with that wrap around the neck. And that's called acanthosis nigricans. Oh, I'm not going to say that 10 times real fast, but that's exactly the name for it. When your blood sugars are high, essentially what's happening is almost that sugar from the blood vessel from the back of the eye is pushing your eye forward. That's why you get that distorted vision. The eyes are the last to recover from a high blood sugar. Finally, when you get your blood sugars down, the A1C's down, everything, you feel better, you have more energy, you're not peeing as much, you're not as thirsty, but you might still have blurry vision. Don't get a new prescription. You almost have to wait a whole cycle of about a 3-month cycle for your eyes to reposition themselves so your vision's more clear. But often I'll have my patients get a prescription when their blood sugars are 600. And then once we get them down and we get them into control, they need another prescription because now their eyes are healed again. So you can have a lot of these interesting different symptoms that as a caregiver and hearing this information today and your loved one or family member is saying, I can't see all of a sudden. You might go, well, let me just gently nudge them. Hey, have you been to the doctor? Did you have a physical recently? Maybe gently nudge them in that direction, gently. You don't ever want to demand somebody, I don't want people to demand me to do anything either, but you can, gently and friendly and lovingly encourage them. Many of my patients, had all the symptoms and all the symptoms. And finally, what sent them to the doctor was a wound that didn't heal. And that is another sign of high blood sugars. If like that traffic jam and try to get an ambulance through there, are you kidding me? You're not going to get the ambulance through there. And that's what's happening. The ambulance are the healing elements that are carried by your blood. The nutrition to heal that wound can't get there. And the oxygen and all the microminerals can't get there. They're stuck in your blood. It's literally like trying to get an ambulance through that traffic jam. So oftentimes those wounds don't heal and they can become infected. And that's how we start losing toes and feet and legs. So these are just for you to know that there are symptoms that may not be obvious, but you can learn these and maybe watch and see if your family member or friend or even yourself are having any of these symptoms that, it's a gentle nudge to the doctor. We don't know. We got to get to the doctor and get some tests done and see what's going on. Could be something else. It might not be diabetes, but it's definitely worth the trip to the doctor. Pins and needles happen, and this is so interesting. Our nerves want to talk to each other. They love to communicate and talk, and it's like almost yelling at your neighbor across the fence. But when there's a big mountain in front of you, and that could be considered that traffic jam of sugar in your blood, the nerves can no longer speak to each other. And that results in this, like, I consider it, they're trying to scream louder. That's the pins and the needles, like, hey, I can't, hear you anymore. I can't talk to you anymore. And that's almost what's happening. Those pins and needles are an indication that your blood sugar could be high. So if you have those, it's not a sleepy foot. It's the sleepy foot that doesn't go away. That would be another symptom of high blood sugars. Unexplained weight loss. Listen, when your sugar can't get to your cells, your body is an amazing machine and it will literally use anything to turn that. Your body can very easily and efficiently turn body fat into blood sugar to keep this going. Your heart is where all the blood sugar is going. Your body is a survivor, and we will survive, and your body will eat your muscle, eat your fat, turn that into blood sugar just to keep our body alive. And with that comes the weight loss. You are very hungry. You could have a 500 blood sugar and be starving because the body hasn't gotten the message that the sugar has actually gotten to the cells. So your body continues to give you those hunger cues. Eat more, eat more, eat more. Many of my young kids who come in with a diagnosis of type 1 diabetes, the mom and dad would say, I mean, this kid ate all the time, but they were losing weight. I couldn't understand it. And finally, they got to the doctor and got diagnosed, thank goodness. So you can be very, very hungry. And for the men in your life, if it's not going well in the bedroom area, that is another sign of high blood sugars. You can't get the blood flow where it needs to go when there's a bunch of blood sugars in the way. And it's a very interesting conversation when I have men come in because I will mention it. How's that going? And they're very some are not embarrassed, some are very embarrassed, but it's always an interesting conversation. They're like, oh, it's very motivating for a man who's suffering with that to get their blood sugars in control so they can feel better in that time of their life. So we have to know what are the different types of diabetes. So let me just go into a very easy explanation, and I'm just going to do the three main types of diabetes. We certainly, over the last decade, have discovered other types of diabetes, but the main ones are type 1, type 2, and gestational diabetes. Now, again, I love to just ask a lot of questions of my patients, and sometimes my patient will say, I don't even know if I have type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And so that I'm like, their doctor is definitely not giving them the best service. So let me just talk to you about that. Type 1 diabetes is the emanation of your beta cell. It's an inside job. Remember I said the beta cell is where the insulin lives, and that beta cell lives in your pancreas? We don't know why this happens, but your body, like Iris was saying before, those white cells, so your body is ready to attack any bacteria, any foreign invader that comes in. Your body wants to get rid of it as soon as possible. We don't know why this happens, but sometimes the body will look at that beta cell and go, oh yeah, I'm going to get rid of you, and attacks those beta cells. The insulin, the beta cells are gone. We can't make new beta cells. We can't make new insulin. So if that happens, insulin is eliminated from the body. You cannot survive without insulin. We cannot survive without those beta cells that hold on to that insulin. So with type 1 diabetes, it's still even a mystery. We don't know why it happens, but if somebody has type 1 diabetes, they need insulin. And the only way to do that is through injections, but now we have pump therapy. People can infuse insulin through a device that they wear on their tummy or their hand or their leg or their back end. And it's just a fascinating way to get insulin into the body because the sugar can't get out of the blood vessel unless insulin is involved. So somehow, some way, we either make it or we have to take it. Type 2 diabetes, it's almost like those beta cells, they're certainly there. We have insulin in our body, but the insulin is just not working as strong as it used to. I almost call these insulin cells that really want to be in Aruba with Iris. They're like, yeah, I'm on vacation. I want to just retire. I don't want to work anymore. And when that happens, all the other beta cells, they're like, I'm not ready to work, but I'll come in and try to cover for you. So we have all these insulin cells trying to come into the bloodstream to make up for the ones that are being lazy. And so we have a high amount of insulin in our blood, and we're barely getting that sugar out of the blood vessel. It stays higher longer. We're getting the job done, but it takes a long time, and it takes a lot of insulin to do that. That's type 2 diabetes. You might still have your beta cells and still have your insulin, but you might need a helper insulin so you can get those blood sugars down quickly. Insulin is the only way to get them into the cells. It unlocks the doors. It gets the traffic jam, off onto the exit. So it's a vital part, the main part that we have to know. That is how we can get our blood sugars lower, is with active insulin. And there's lots of ways we can enhance insulin. There's lots of ways we can improve insulin. And a lot of the ways we do it is also through diet. Gestational diabetes, that's where I've been living now for the last year. I am now the only gestational diabetes dietitian for my outpatient clinic. I see hundreds of moms a month, help them get to that other side. Let me tell you, somebody who is motivated to get their blood sugars down is pregnant because these ladies probably wouldn't have put this much care into themselves, but they will put this much care into their babies. And so they're on a special diet. Some of them do need insulin. I'm telling you, it's for gestational diabetes, you can do everything right and still have high blood sugars. That is the most frustrating part for my moms. Somebody with type 2 diabetes does everything right. They're going to get some improvement. They're going to maybe get off medicine. They're going to change their life for the better. But with gestational diabetes, it's almost the only time in your life you can do everything right and still have high blood sugar. So whatever happens, that blood sugar has to be controlled. So we do it through the diet. Mommies are exercising. We have classes at our hospital that they can join. But oftentimes they're also needing insulin, which is for a mommy who's pregnant, the best medicine to get that blood sugar out of the blood quickly to cells, because mommy's sugar is baby sugar too. So it's a very, very tough time in their life, but very rewarding because at the end, they get this beautiful, healthy baby. Is there any questions that I can answer at this point? Anything?
Let's
Let's
if
talk about
anybody has
numbers.
the
This is
questions,
going to be controversial.
we'll have the whole section for Q&A. So if you
Okay.
suddenly think about that, please take a note and we will try to answer all of it.
There's a lot of controversy, not on my end, but I think in the group sometimes just online. What is the blood sugar, that we need you to be? My job is to eliminate your risk of complications, your loved ones, yourself. So I mean, my dad woke up every morning with 180 blood sugar for 30 years. We could never get that down. Eventually, once we got him on insulin, that was much better. But there's a lot of things that go on at night that cause a high blood sugar. So if we can get the fastings or wake up blood sugar or before meal blood sugar to be around 120, that's great. But if it's higher, and it goes down during the day, that's also okay. It's almost like you have to have somebody that knows your medical history, to not give you like it has to be under 90 or it has to be under 120. That's not always true. The first blood sugar of the day can often be much higher, but you can still be very, very healthy and have a good outlook with diabetes and be well and controlled because the rest of the day, which you're control of, what you eat and what you drink and how you are active and how you exercise, that's going to regulate your blood sugars daytime. So if they're higher overnight for an adult who's not pregnant, that might be okay. Sometimes that one can't be solved, to the way we would want it perfectly, which is less than 120. But after meals, this is something that you can, you don't want to force your loved one to say, okay, here's your meter, check your blood sugar. You almost want to just be curious, like, hey, how did, that meal go? I'm just really curious. How are your blood sugars after that? So we're trying to get blood sugars down under 180 in 2 hours. It could be 170, it could be 110. Let's just get it under 180 in 2 hours. And hopefully your loved one will be aware of, their blood sugars. If not, that's certainly such a great tool, having one of those sensors. It can be too much, it can not be enough. There's lots of ways that we can help somebody understand their blood sugars, but they don't have to check them 10 times a day. But you have to be aware. Awareness is the first step towards change. What are my blood sugars after that restaurant meal? What are their blood sugars? But you can't demand it. And you have to be very careful because your loved one's going to start hiding things from you. They won't give you the information if you're going to be upset about it. You have to go, oh, okay, that's interesting. I wonder what changes because you have to be very careful. I had to do that with my dad. Arena had to do that with her husband. If my dad, I lived very close to my dad, and so I could get to his house in like 5 minutes, and I just walk in. It's my dad, and it's so funny because when I would go into the house, every night, he was, he grew up in the 20s and 30s. So he was cocktail hour. So every night, right around 5 was cocktail hour. He'd sit, watch the news, and he'd have his drink. But it's also his snacking time. So when I would walk in the house, all I could hear is this rustling, like a bag of, those potato chip bags, just kind of being crunched up and rustled around. And he would hide it in his chair or put it down to the side where I couldn't see it. That I'm like, Dad, if you want a snack, that's okay. I'm just here to help you with your insulin. I'm here, but he was afraid of me seeing that. So be really careful. You don't want your loved one to keep the information from you. You want to say, you know what, that's okay. Hey, I would like some chips too, but you know what? Let's get some cheese dip, or let's get some peanut butter, or let's get some protein to add with that. We can snack on chips. We're just going to make it a little bit better for the blood sugars. So you want to be very careful, not just critical, like, I can't believe you did that. I mean, my dad would just have fallen apart if I did that to him. So you have to be really a little bit more gentle. You're going to have an outlet to scream and yell if you want to in Arena's group. You're going to have that outlet that you need. But with your family member, they need you to not be critical because they're dealing with a lot as well that they might not have revealed to you. If your loved one, or if you or anybody has those feelings, those symptoms I told you about, let's find a way to get their blood sugars checked. The insurance will pay for a meter. Medicare pays for a meter, pays for one blood sugar check a day. I mean, it's not amazing, but Medicare is also starting to continuous glucose monitors. I wish my dad could have had one of those, but it wasn't in his time. A1Cs, we talked about prediabetes, 5.7% is prediabetes. 5.6% is pre-prediabetes. So it's eventually going to get there. But I've had patients with the 5.7% A1C or 5.8% A1C for 20 years. So you can be there for 20 years and be just fine. But once you get into that, high 6.4, 6.5, that's diabetes. That is type 2 diabetes. And yes, you can get your A1C back down, but you already have a bit of the damage in those arteries from those higher blood sugars longer. So it's still diabetes. It doesn't, that identifier on your medical record doesn't go away. The blood sugars can come down, but that identifier doesn't go away. So I wanted to know, at what point did an A1C have to be that doesn't cause complications? And that is a 6.9. Endocrinology, I talk to the doctors all the time, like, where do you just, they're like, I'd be thrilled with a 7.2. A 6.9 would be amazing. You don't, the family member, oftentimes in some of these forums will see patients or people saying, oh, I have a 4.9 A1C. Oh, my A1C is, 5.2. It's like, that's amazing for them, but that is not the norm at all. So if your family member or yourself or your loved one has an A1C of a 6.5, that's amazing. We know their toes aren't going to fall off. They're not going to go blind. They're not going to lose the function of their kidneys with an A1C of 6.5. That is something to celebrate. 6.8, 6.9, fine. Even right at a 7, that would be the highest I would want someone to be, because after a 7, we do see more damage coming more quickly in their bodies. Remember, it's that sugar in the blood vessels that are causing the problems, deteriorating those blood vessels. They can burst, they can carry all the nutrition vessels, and that's what leads to all the complications. So keeping your A1C at 7 or under is fine. You don't have to be in the 5s. You can lead a very healthy, long life with an A1C under 7. So sugar, yeah, it's all about sugar. Sugar causes high blood sugars. Listen, you drink the your blood sugar's going up 100%. So can we just sugar in it is okay. But we do want to understand that it is a quick way to raise our blood sugars, which for some of my patients who might have a low blood sugar on insulin, sugar could save their life. So I'm never going to call a food a good or a bad. Just going to say it raises the blood sugars quickly. Some days you might need that. Other days, if your blood sugars are higher, that could be something we could monitor or regulate. You as a family member, caregiver, can stop bringing sodas into the house. That was the first change I asked my mom to make. I said, Mom, I know you like your Sprite. I know you love your 7 Up, but Dad's going to drink it when you're not here. And that's going to raise his blood sugars. And I don't want him to lose his legs. So you got to give it up. And she did. And my dad started making unsweet green tea. He put Splenda in it. He loved making his tea every day. He would brew it. He put it in the refrigerator. That was his drink. And that was also healing for him. So as a family member, as a caregiver, there could be things that are very, very enticing. When your back turned, if it's something that you love, can you give it up for your loved one? I know that the way I'm about to explain it might be a little bit harsh, but it's almost the only way I can get this through to some of my patients where if somebody in your family was an alcoholic, would you have alcohol around? Would you have it on the counter? Would you have it at every meal? Of course not. If one of your kids was allergic to a food or your family member was allergic to peanuts, are you having peanuts or peanut butter in your house? Absolutely not. I think it's the same thing. In my opinion, you have to treat it just like that. Get the liquid sugars out of the house. Now, if somebody is on insulin, they certainly need some quick acting, sugary things in the house, but that could be glucose tabs, something that you're not going to snack on. You could have, the little teeny tiny juicy juice boxes, hidden in, somewhere around the house that's quick access. But having their favorite drink around, if it's a fully loaded sugary drink, removing that and bringing in something that the whole family can enjoy, I think so much better that now they're not going to have the cravings. They're not enticed to drink it. There's safe drinks around that they can pick up anytime. And the whole family is enjoying this. It's the whole family has to change. If it's just the person with diabetes that has to change, that is not fair. And that is not the way the family member wants to get it. They're going to feel ostracized. They're going to feel separate. They're going to feel, you know, like they're not loved or they're not cared for. And the person with diabetes has a really hard time explaining that. So you as a caregiver have to know that they do need that help. They do need you to step up and start making some changes for yourself. When my dad was diagnosed with diabetes and I started my journey towards being a dietitian, going to school, I lost 20 pounds in 6 months. I didn't realize how unhealthy I was eating. But my Nutrition 101 class at my local community center is where I started my education. I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. 20 pounds in 6 months. It was amazing. Um, so the eating part we're going to get to in just a second. Being sedentary. Let me just tell you, insulin, yes, that's the way we get sugar out of our blood and to our cells. But the cells that actually want your sugar are your muscles, but you got to activate them. Your muscles are just going to be sedentary too. Your muscles do not need insulin to bring sugar in when you're active. It's almost like you have these little teeny tiny square cells of a little bit of sugar in each muscle, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these cells that have a little bit of sugar in them and sugar's energy, right? So when we start moving the muscles, we're going for a walk, we're maybe riding a bike, or we're just marching in place at our desk. Our muscles want your sugar because what's in the muscle stored, very, very short living, about 15, 20 minutes. And so if you exercise beyond that, your muscles are looking for sugar. They want it without the assistance of insulin. Your muscles can yell up to your blood vessel, hey, send me some sugar. And almost like a straw in your blood vessel, suck it out and bring it back to the muscles. So activity is extremely important. You have a couch potato who has diabetes, you might need to be the person to encourage, like, hey, let's go for a walk. I really feel like a walk. I really would love your company. Gently bring them in. We're not going to get the gym membership. We're not going to force them, to do all of that, but we're going to get them moving. And I will tell you, when their blood sugars start coming down and they start feeling more energy, they are going to want to do that on their own. But you might have to gently nudge them off the couch. I need you to come with me today. We're going to do this. We're going for this walk, or we're going swimming, or we're going to Aruba, or we're going, somewhere fun. We're going to go in the ocean and just splash around. It could just be that simple, just something very simple. How about gardening? Hey, can you help me, with the wheelbarrow? Help me dig up, these weeds. That's exercise. You can do that too. Mowing the grass, that's exercise. So any way you can get your family member or loved one moving, the blood sugars will naturally come down. And that helps in so many other ways. Somebody who has diabetes may not want to share with you that their doctor said they need insulin or that they have to be on another medication. Maybe they just didn't go to the pharmacy. They didn't want to, be reminded of their diabetes, so they didn't even pick it up. So you have to know what are the medications the doctor's recommending your loved one or family member needs, and you should know about those medications. We'll probably have another session on the diabetes medications because that takes a long time to talk about. But the diabetes medications, probably the most popular one that's we have doctors have a hierarchy, and I hate this, but it's regulated by the insurance company. You got to start them on metformin. If that doesn't work, then the insurance might pay for all these other subgroups of medications. It's the most ridiculous thing, but this is what we're living in. Metformin is such an interesting medication because initially I told you a lot happens at night with your blood sugars. And it's almost like that leaky pipe that keeps dripping water, dripping water. So your liver, you might not know this, but your liver actually stores blood sugar and can make it too. And at nighttime, your liver can be a little bit extra leaky. And metformin is almost like the plumber. It tightens up that leaky pipe from your liver, so your blood sugars are actually lower when you wake up, and this carries you through the day. So it's a really good first line medication. It has a lot of controversy. I don't know why. It's been out for 5 decades, so it's pretty safe. But there are other medications that I don't know. You guys are probably old enough to know about Popeye, super skinny, scrawny guy. But man, when he ate some spinach, he was powerful. That's what the medications do to your beta cells. It's almost like they make them stronger so they can work better and faster to get that sugar out of the blood and to the cells. So those medications are helping your loved ones, yourself, get that sugar out of the blood vessel and to the cells that need it as quick as possible. Stress raises blood sugar. It raises a hormone called cortisol. We have cortisol naturally in our body, especially when we're waking up in the morning. That creates insulin resistance. That's why we have higher blood sugar sometimes in the morning. But stress, I have the story I always tell of this young guy came in and he was going through a divorce. So he had a marriage. Maybe he was like, I don't know, 28, 29. And he was going through a divorce. And he was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes during that divorcing time. Very stressful, very tough divorce. Kids were involved, money, financial. This guy was stressed. And I worked with him, of course, in the office. And then probably I would see him like every 2 or 3 months. We'd see how he's going. He's, still stressed out. And the last time I saw him, the divorce was over. He felt better. He had moved on. He was living separately. Finally, he was visiting his kids, or his kids were with him. He was very, very happy. He was able to get off insulin simply because of the stress. He said, I didn't change anything. I just feel better. I don't feel as stressed. Isn't that amazing how stress can affect your blood sugar? So as a caregiver, we're taking on a lot, and you guys are amazing, and it is a lot. But if there's any way you can help your loved one with diabetes reduce their stress, help them out, that would be amazing for their blood sugars. Sickness, when you're sick, what does your body need? Energy to get well. So all of my moms who have had COVID and strep throat, and oh my gosh, of the last 4 or 5 years, we've had a lot of sick moms and type 2 patients, and their blood sugars go up. And sometimes temporarily, our docs for our moms will put them on insulin while they're sick, just because we know those blood sugars are going to be higher. And once they feel better, we take them off the medication. But that can happen with your type 2 family member, loved one, or type 1 family member or loved one. When you're sick, your blood sugars go up. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It just means your body's fighting the infection, and eventually that will go back. And dehydration. Dehydration is serious. If somebody has high blood sugars and they're drinking a lot and they're peeing a lot and they become dehydrated, oh my goodness, that could land them in the hospital in a critical medical state. So the way I explain it is this. I don't want you guys following your loved one to the bathroom, but you might want to maybe ask them or have a little bit of a game where, the color of your urine can tell you if you're dehydrated or not. So when we wake up, we pee for the first time, we know that's a dark urine, that's a dehydrate, that's the color of dehydration because we're not drinking when we're sleeping, clearly. So during the day, within 3 hours of waking up, your urine should be almost the lightest of yellow color, just barely a hint of color. So you could maybe involve your family member or friend with diabetes. Hey, how was your pee? How'd it look? Did it look good? And maybe encourage more water, more clear diet drinks. Dark diet drinks is a caffeinated that can make you more um, dehydrated. Coffee is more like a diuretic. It helps you pee more. So maybe clear diet drinks or water with lemon in it. Or you can make a lovely, they probably have this in Aruba, Iris, where they have these jars of water out. People will prepare that by putting cucumbers in there, maybe lemon slices to gently infuse those flavors into the water. That's so refreshing to drink. So encourage more drinking. I now live with my 86-year-old mom. That lady doesn't drink water. I have to go in there all the time. Mom, are you drinking water? Oh yeah, I forgot. Mom, we can't, you no, you can't get sick on me. So I'm constantly bringing her water and she's drinking it. As long as she has it, she'll drink it. So these are things you can do. These are just small things that can be a huge thing to your family member or friend with diabetes that can really, really improve their life. I see in the group all the time of Arena's first group, Diabetes
101
101
for
for
beginners.
beginners. Yep, where people are like, this is my blood sugar 300, this is my blood sugar 400. I immediately my heart sinks and my stomach sinks to my feet. This is not good. This is never good. This should never happen. And I've had patients where they've had 300 plus for a year. It's like, I don't know how you're surviving. I don't know how you're not in the hospital, but things are not going well on the inside. And this is what happens. You don't feel bad. Oh, I feel good. Okay. And 1 or 2 years from now, that's when we start seeing the kidney damage. You can't get that back. That's when we start seeing the eyes go. You can't get that back. That neuropathy, that's not going to go away. That's damage from those high blood sugars consistently. So this is never good. So if the family member that you know has some higher blood sugars, it's an encouraging talk. It's an intervention, getting to the doctors, doing something to help that family member because this is not going to go well. You may be fine today, but in 2 or 3 years from now, this is not going to go well for the body. So I'm a caregiver. Arena's a caregiver. Ira said she's her own caregiver, but we're caregiving for you too. But as a caregiver, you do have to check in, and it's not like a bomb, okay? You cannot be the bomb. You have to come in almost like a feather. How are you doing today? How are you feeling? You want to check in with them. How can I help you? Do you need some water? Sure. You want me to make you some snacks? Sure, sure. I can do that. And we'll talk about nutrition too in just a moment. But assist with the meal prep. My mom was a saint. I told her she constantly forgot, all the instructions. So I constantly had to go over there and remind her. But she prepared for my dad the most amazing meals that looked just like, I would feed my dad. And I appreciate her so much because in that time, the men didn't cook, the women did. So my mom prepared meals for my dad, lunch, dinner, snacks, drinks. And because of that, and that's all they had in the house, my dad had no choice, but that's what he would eat. Now, I will tell you a funny story. When my mom would go out of town, the first place my dad goes, Bojangles, which is a very famous restaurant in the South, has all the biscuits, all the gravy, all the fried chicken, all the things, the sweet tea that we love. And that's where he would go. So had my mom not been in his life, this is where he would have gone every single day to eat. So thank goodness that she was in there because he could do that every once in a while and still be fine and have high blood sugars maybe for a few days. But once my mom got back into town, she'd start feeding him again and he'd be fine. So yes, you can go off, you can have a big meal every once in a while. It doesn't have to be strict every day, but you have to know as a caregiver that, hey, we're eating out a lot, or the blood sugars have been high very frequently. Let's just start making some things at home and involve your friend or your family member who with diabetes. Say, hey, let's do this together. Recognizing highs and lows, I gave you some symptoms that you can look at. Also because that person with diabetes may not know what that means. They're thirsty or they can't see very well or they're super tired and they don't know why. Now you know. So maybe you can help them get over to the doctor and get checked out. Encourage with gentle support. I'm telling you, this really, really works. My dad was not perfect. Absolutely not. And I wouldn't have it any other way because that made me a more understanding family member and absolutely a more understanding dietitian. I'm not going to be critical of anybody. You walk into my office, you're 99% the way there. Like you're here. You're here to listen. You're here. You want help. So the rest of that is easy. So just gently nudge them in the right direction and support them and catch them doing things right. My dad was, he didn't do a lot of great things, but when I saw him drinking his tea or his water or Dad, I can't believe you just chose vegetables for a snack. I'm so happy for you. Like I didn't talk to him about the chips that he hid from me. I didn't talk to him about the Bojangles meal that he had last week. I just said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you did that. And you took your medicine. Oh, I'm so thankful for you. That's great." That's what they want to hear, that they're headed in the right direction. So I think this is a good place to stop because the rest of the stuff I have is all the nutrition things. So Arena, I think be a great time for you to give everybody a different voice and a different perspective on the caregiving.
Yes, thank you, Kim. Well, we learn as we go. So because this is our first event, I personally learned that we have to divide our sections a little bit differently than we planned in the first place. So, Kim, I would like you to continue on the nutritional part because this is actually what you educated on much more than any one of us here. But I also would like to ask you, please, to kind of don't go into too many details because unfortunately, we are going to run out of time. I don't want to take the entire Saturday from people. But we will have an opportunity to talk about it more along the way, not today, but I tell more about our options that we are going to invite people to. So go ahead, continue on nutrition. Just I'll give you 10 minutes. Can you squeeze it in?
Okay, so this is really so funny, Arena. So when I was a dietitian, all dietitians had to do internships. And my internship, I had 10 weeks at the hospital, working on the floor with heart patients and diabetes patients and any patient in between that had a nutrition concern. And I got in trouble every day because I spent more than 10 minutes with those patients because I talk. I mean, this is what we do. This is my whole family. We're talkers. And that was so funny that you said that because I got in trouble for that every
Oh,
single day
10
during my
minutes is the
internship.
wrong number. You got 15.
Okay, all right. So let's get back to the presentation. I'll share that again. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. I can tell you, I don't like to take away things from people that they love to eat, but let's just figure out how we can have those things and still have a safe blood sugar, a healthy blood sugar. And listen, if it didn't work out, we got to exercise. We can always get blood sugars down from exercise. So often somebody will say, "Oh, I'm waiting to see what my blood sugars are going to be." Well, go do something. Go be active. Don't sit there and just wonder what it's going to be in 2 hours. Move. The plate method is my preferred way to explain meal planning. It's easy, it's visual, I'm visual. This is how it's going to go. Every plate that you see in your house, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you're going to make a dividing line. Yes, we need vegetables. Vegetables is the main course. I'm telling you, it'll change your life. If your family member doesn't like vegetables, then we're going to bring in more lean proteins and high fiber foods to go alongside. Fruits can be part of that. But if we can visually divide our plate in half and then in half again, we have a beautiful section for the carbohydrates. They're not going to go away. They're going to be there, but it's not the main course. And that
Can I interrupt
oftentimes,
right here real quick? Um, Very often people go by that plate, but there is one detail. We need to also watch the portions, right? So to select the proper plate size for yourself is very important. Of course, if you are someone is tall man, 6'4", and they have big hands, their plate should be the size of their arm, about that size, right? Where the proteins is this much. It's a quarter, right? But if someone is a small woman, 5'1", her hand will be much smaller, and therefore her plate should be smaller. But the proportions on this plate is important, and the size of the plate is important. Sorry for interrupting.
That's a very good that I know I love that you said that, Arena. Thank you so much. And I do that in my office too. I have a dinner plate, and whether it's the guy who's 6'4" or the woman who's super tall and just large framed, you can also do it like this. The size of your fist balled up is about the size of the carbohydrate portion on that plate. You could think of it that way too. Carbohydrates is energy. Yes, they turn to sugar. So what? So do a lot of foods. These foods turn to sugar faster. That's okay. That's your body's energy source. So we want to have carbohydrates. Carbohydrates fuel the brain, fuels the body. I know a lot of people love carnivore and keto. Those are not my favorite things because I do enjoy carbohydrates myself. I'm not going to tell you not to have them. We can the healthier carbs, the high fiber carbs, the foods that look natural, in nature on your plate, like a sweet potato, baked potato, grapes, and pasta's a processed food. Yeah, we can have pasta, but we're looking at, like Arena said, you can do the size of the plate or how your fist is. That's about right. A cup and a half, up to 2 cups of carbs per meal after cooking. But carbs are fine. Carbs are good. We don't want to demean them. We don't want to call them toxic. That can create disordered eating. And I'm very, very careful how I speak about food. Protein is the glue that sticks food in your stomach longer. If you have just carbohydrate foods, your blood sugars go up quickly. For somebody with a low blood sugar, that's a good thing. But if you want a slow rise of your blood sugar, protein in some way has got to be part of the solution. It is an amazing food group. I can't speak enough about protein, so I'm sure we'll have more information on just protein, what that is. But it's basically animal meats, animal proteins, byproducts of milk like cheese, nuts and seeds. Seeds, especially. Seeds are higher in protein than nuts are. Hemp seeds is my new seed. I love hemp seeds. So much protein in hemp seeds. For my daughter who's vegetarian, but any seafood, shrimp, we're trying not to bread everything, eggs, egg whites, wonderful. Protein works so well to control blood sugars after eating. Main course. American culture is not eating enough vegetables. Now, our Asian cultures and cultures from India and Africa, they are eating more vegetables, and that's wonderful. So we need to pick up the slack. We have to be eating more of these non-starchy. You can Google non-starchy. You can go to diabetes.org and find non-starchy vegetables. You can ask ChatGPT about non-starchy vegetables, but this is where the volume of the plate should come from to bring in that fiber so you can it's all about slowing down the digestion, but not being hungry and not having, carbs be the main course. I am a quick and easy girl. I do not like to spend time in the kitchen. I'm using frozen foods, but I am designing my meals around that plate method. Half my plate is from that whole bag of frozen vegetables. I'm going to get that frozen chicken put in my air fryer. Absolutely delicious. And my sweet potato fries is the carb. It's about the size of my fist, which is about 1 cup. That's a great plate. And if you've never tried raised sugar-free original barbecue sauce, you are missing out. This is the most delicious tasting barbecue sauce that barely has any carbs in it. It's really, really fantastic. Here's another meal. I love frozen meals. I get these meals. That's my protein, that's my veggies, and then my carb is the fruit. It doesn't have to look perfectly, but we got everything in there. And fruit is a wonderful carb. Don't let anybody tell you that fruit is bad. It's the most amazing carbohydrate, healing, fiber, sweet. I mean, you can't get any better than that. There's a video I did on my Facebook page. You guys can go and see it. But this is easy chicken parmesan. Again, I got frozen bag of veggies. I got the bagged lettuce. I got the tomato sauce. I made a lovely chicken parm. And my carb was my dessert. Yes, can have dessert. It's just a carb, just like bread is. Do you want me to go through the steps, Irina?
Um, hold on, and save it for a little later. So we will have
Okay.
this is because this is important to remember, kind of like to bring us back to what we spoke
Yeah.
about closer to the end. I wanted to warn everybody that I also did some uh, slideshow, and of course it's not as colorful and as Kim did, but I wanted to go through what I have real quickly because we spoke about uh, the theory of diabetes, what it is, the diabetes. We spoke about the nutritional part of it, and I am sure that we are going to talk about it more and all the time because this is important to understand. Nutrition is what our body is running on, and we need to know as much information as possible about it. So we will not skip this part all the time. All right. But I also wanted to bring everybody's attention to this extremely important point. I do remember when my husband got diagnosed, I was scared for weeks. I did not know how to manage anything. I've been nursing my baby. I ran out of milk like in a hurry real fast because of this. I was very scared. I had another baby who didn't know what's going on. My husband was really falling apart and being very, very, very ill. And this was extremely emotional time for me. And because I survived because of my friends, because I could not share the level of me being scared with my husband. I didn't want to put him completely down. But I had friends who helped me and listened to me and at least took me for a walk and helped me to kind of do this. Um, and this is normal. This is my scary part. He was scared himself. He wouldn't share that with me. So here we were, two of us being terribly scary and not sharing. Um, every now and then I see people grieving their life that they had, the food that they love, the activities that they used to do and cannot do anymore. This is normal. And it takes time to go through the grieving. And I want you as caregivers to recognize this part because this is very, very important to give it time, right? A lot of times I hear in our Facebook group, Diabetes 101 for Beginners, people are frustrated about themselves, about what they put themselves into. They're frustrated about the fact that they cannot do things. It's again part of grieving, but it's kind of has extra emotional aspect. A lot of times people feel ashamed. I knew about it and I still got myself into there, and I'm so ashamed and I cannot talk about it with anyone. This is normal. So, as a caregiver, please understand that this is you got to recognize this and let people go through this because this all once it goes settled, they will find a way to deal with that with your help, hopefully. But this is something that everybody has to go and process and accept. Only when we accept the diagnosis, we can start moving forward and start looking for better ways to have our life, to like healthier ways, how I can get out of this situation. Um, a lot of times people feel lost. I know that my husband told me um, several times that I have no idea what he is going through. And he would not tell me anymore anything because I do not understand what he is going through. He felt lost. He felt lonely. And as much as I tried to go through that wall, he would not let me through. So my activity were around him, but not with him. And that also happens very often. Of course, people are sad and they're very often anxious about doing anything. I see it in our Facebook group all the time. I'm afraid to eat. I'm afraid to do something. What if it makes my blood sugar go up even higher? I don't know what to do. I am so such a nerve wreck right now. This is again normal. Not everybody does that, but it happens to different people. And our job as caregivers to recognize it and be patient, because that is also will go away once they learn more, once they see what works for them, once they understand that what diabetes is. Because the way how very often people get diagnosed, they go to doctor for different reason. The doctor runs the blood work, and 2 days later they get the email or phone call from doctor's office and saying you have diabetes. Your blood work shows this number, and you need to go to pharmacy, pick up the medication. We need to schedule the follow-up in 3 months. That's a lot to take on, especially if you didn't expect it. And people go through a whole range of emotions with that. And you never know how it would happen. My personal opinion is and position, diabetes is a team sport. Tell them that you are on it with them. This is it for right now. You could discuss the details, the way how you will work out, because you also have to process it. You also have to change the way how your relationships were in the past. And it's affecting everybody. So emotions are a very strong component. And as Kim pointed out earlier, emotions, stress affects the blood sugar levels very strongly. So, and as these are lowered self-esteem, hopelessness. This is all what people are going through, and we as caregivers need to remember about it. We need to make sure that we do not contribute to more stress in that. And there are many ways to manage the stress, but my personal opinion is that the way how we can help people is offer the help, offer the ear, and don't jump on acting out right away, because maybe this is not what people need. So have a conversation, ask them what you need, ask them what you can help with. And one simple thing, as Kim also suggested, invite for a walk. This is going for a walk, doing some physical activity outside of the house is never bad for anyone. It will be good for you as well. You also need to get out of house. You also need to take your head and mind off the cooking and doctor's visits and everything. There are many other things how you can help them. Ask them if they need it. Some people want to schedule doctor's appointment themselves. Some people saying, look, I never have time for it. Can you do this for me, please? Some people say, I can manage myself. Thank you very much. Some other would say, well, the only thing that I never remember is to refill my medication. Take it. Whatever, but have a conversation, have an honest conversation, and help them to see you as a help, not the police department in the house. So this is, I mean, you could read, of course, obviously what I did put on the slide here, but grocery shopping, you got to educate yourself too. what to buy, how to select the item, look at how to read the labels there. Preparing meals, do it together, do it yourself, show that you're capable of any kind of help. This is all important, right? Um, Assisting with physical activities, obviously. Let's go together for a walk. Let's sign up for, I don't know, the yoga class or dancing class or any kind of activities. Digging the weeds in the backyard. Let's go throw some hoops if you have that. If this is something that you like to do. These are my points that I learned along the way as a caregiver. And unfortunately, a lot of these points I did not know. I was not educated about the stress and how the stress affects the blood sugar. I understood much later. I noticed that my husband's personality changed dramatically. He became a very different person than he was when we met. He continued being very caring, he continued being very loving, but at the same time, he becomes so quick to respond, to get upset, to get not nervous, but disappointed with actions that myself or my kids or our friends will do. So this is something that you need to remember about. And the interesting story, one of the nurses in our group told the story how she was preparing for a party and she has her diabetes and generally under control, and suddenly she started acting out really not characteristical for her. So her daughter said, "Mom, did you check your blood sugar?" I said, "Well, don't even talk to me about it. I'm too busy. I have the house full of people. I need to worry about this. This is what's going on." Her daughter insisted her to go and check her blood sugar. Sure enough, her blood sugar was over the 300. So she actually took her medication at the time and helped herself to A, don't go to the emergency room, and B, to be able to participate in the party and be calm and enjoy the event rather than keep freaking out and passing out. So this is my contribution to this conversation that I wanted to make sure that we don't forget emotional aspect in taking care of someone with diabetes is very important and we don't want to overlook it and we have to recognize it in what we do. So Kim, sorry I took stage for a little longer. Please say what you have to add to this. We don't have too much time left, but I also want to make sure that we have the time for Q&As. Kim?
Would help if I put myself off mute first and then I can speak. Okay, now I'll share. Okay, thank you, Irina. This will take a few minutes, not even 1 minute. Just the steps you can take right now. We always want these call to action. So this is your call to action. Um, yeah, I think as a family member, you should be able to be a little nosy. Do they have all the supplies? Do they need, ask your family member, yeah, I didn't see you testing your blood sugar. Do I need to go to the pharmacy for you? Is there something there that I can pick up? Are they taking their medications? Yeah, it's easy to forget to take your medications. And like Irina was saying with her husband, oh my God, my heart just breaks that, he was suffering high blood sugars and my dad was suffering high blood sugars, and they absolutely did. But he started, yelling at the dogs for barking. I'm like, oh, I better to take your medication. Can I get them for you from the bathroom? I'd love to be able to help you. How about a referral to a doctor? Very, very busy. They don't have time with you like I have time with you. I have 1 to 2 hours I can spend with you at a time. Usually we just break it up to one sessions. And for Medicare, if your family member or loved one has Medicare, the Medicare insurance pays for 10 hours of diabetes self-management training, 100%. As long as that is from a doctor referral to a diabetes care and education specialist, they will pay for it. And then every year after that, you get 2 hours of follow-up refresher classes. Make small changes on your own. Maybe not even tell your loved one, but just start bringing in the diet Sprite instead of the regular Sprite. Start making maybe a batch of Crystal Light, which is my favorite. The peach mango green tea is to die for. So maybe have that, put it in the refrigerator. Don't even tell them it's diet. Just let them taste it. They're going to find it delicious. And then you can make more. And that eliminates one part of their day that could cause high blood sugars. Catch them doing something right. You're going to catch them doing stuff wrong all the time, but don't mention it. Don't just zip it because they know they're not doing the right thing. They don't need to be reminded they're not doing the right thing. So catch them doing something right every single time, even the littlest thing. Hey, I noticed you took an extra, 5-minute walk after dinner. That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. But you do need support. This is tough to be a caregiver. You need support too. And Arena, thank goodness for you. Such an amazing coordinator and event planner for all these people just to collaborate and have the support that they deserve. And if you guys want to look at any of the stuff, I do have social media on Facebook and Instagram. I don't have a website just yet, but you can also email me, and I'm sure Arena will post this some way.
Yes, yes, thank you, Kim. And I see Dawn raises her hand. So what is the question? Because we could do Q&A right now.
Okay. I don't have a question. I have a suggestion because very timely, this book by Mel Robbins has gone viral called Let Them.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided I gotta do this. It's great for me for lots of different areas in my own life, but starting in the chapter 15 or 16 is these sections that really speak to people who are supporting people going through something really hard, maybe like an illness or drug addiction or, alcohol or something that they know they want to help their loved one get better with. But she goes very detailed into steps and conversations, like how to go through a conversation so that you're not berating, nagging, telling them what to do, but just opening up those conversations. And it just really dovetailed with everything that Irina and Kim explained, how to talk to people, someone that needs to make changes, and that it also the style of how you do that conveys that you're there for them, not to fight against them. So I super highly recommend that. I'm probably going to put that in your group, Arena, as a post. I got the audiobook. Obviously, you can get the hard copy.
Yes, and just the whole book. I didn't read it, but I've listened to several podcasts where podcasters that I listened to interviewed Mel Robbins about this. So I think I've heard the whole book already through those podcasts, and I totally agree. This is you have to train yourself to be able to do that, because this is not easy to let people go their way, but to be able to also gently and tactfully offer help is very, very important how to do that. So this is thank you for reminding. After I've heard and listened to everything I've heard, I am going pretty much looking at almost every situation in the what is happening around me from that standpoint. Is it time to let them? Is it time to let them do what they want, or I still need to get involved? So yeah. I see Laura. She welcome. Thank you for joining. You was a little bit late. If maybe you have few questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We have a short session right now to ask questions. Catherine, welcome. And if you have questions, you can type them in. You could unmute yourself and ask them. But this is the pretty much the end of the informational part of our crash course. I hope it's useful. I hope information that Kim especially gave to you, you could start using while communicating with your loved ones. And I don't know, Iris, if this is helpful for you, but I hope there were some points that you also learned that may help you.
I have to say that, you know, you forget a lot of things. It's been a long time since I've been a nurse. And I have several pages of notes from Kim. Very, very good. I really appreciate everything. Because I am my own caregiver, sometimes we're not hard enough on ourselves, sometimes we're too hard on ourselves. So I guess it's made me feel that I'm doing okay. I don't have the best of days. It's a little tough to find sugar-free anything. I can get sugar-free soda. There are no such thing as sugar-free desserts, or cookies. So I'm going to have to see if there's a way for me to make them. I have my own kitchen here. I have a condo, but I do have a question. People post on the website that I took my finger stick this morning and it was 185, but my CGM said it was 120. I've been using finger stick because it doesn't bother me in the least. It doesn't hurt. But I guess that confuses me because I know they can be different because they're a different system. Are they both reliable? Are there ones more reliable than the other? Is if you're finger sticking, and that it's really, I don't want to say the best one, but that's the standard practice rather than the CGMs. And I have been thinking of just getting a CGM like for a month, just to see, because I eat on the run sometimes and I don't often get a chance to see where I'm at. So I'm curious what the pros and cons are, or just stick with my finger stick. And
I would like to
Would you like me to
start
answer
on
or?
that. Hold on. I would like to start on that. I don't know, Laura and Catherine, if you know what CGM is. CGM is continuous glucose monitor that person can get from the doctor and paid by the insurance. You stick it on your arm, on your belly, at different places. You also can purchase it. It's depends on the model. Now both main resources are selling the cheaper versions, the ones that you could buy simply if you want to check yourself, don't have the prescription. But Kim, please, this is one thing that a lot of times I see in the group people saying, what is CGM? Well, CGM, continuous glucose monitor, and that's something that is available, but some doctors just giving it to you, and some doctors you have to work with them to get it. Okay, whoever heard me.
Yeah, it's really changed everything. We have a window in, can everybody hear me? We have a
Yes.
window into our blood sugar that we've never had before. And for some people, this can be extremely overwhelming. So you have to know your personality type, because I've recommended patients don't wear that because they are just so micromanaging themselves. It becomes more stressful and less overwhelming. But here's the beautiful thing. You are correct, Iris, in that the CGM is not 100% accurate because it's actually in the past. When you see your blood sugar on your, app or whatever you're using, or sometimes we have a scanner, that's what the blood sugar was 25, 35 minutes ago. So the accuracy is in the blood. That's how the sugar is carried, is by the blood. But I have patients in my GDM classes or my moms with gestational diabetes who are freaking out about testing their blood sugars. So we put one of those on there. At least we're getting some information what are their blood sugars. For my type 1 patients, often their monitors are tied to their pumps, so they're being delivered insulin. So it's a good idea of how your blood sugars rise and fall after meals, and that's how I would use it, just to see how did that meal go. How does exercise? I mean, I used to wear those just, so I could see what you guys are going through. And it's a beautiful thing. I caused myself to have a high blood sugar. I wanted to see how quickly exercise could help it turn that corner and start going down. And it was 10 minutes. I just marched around the house, marched outside. I threw the balls to my dog. And I'm telling you, exercise is brilliant. So it can show you those things, how well the exercise does or how well that meal went for your specific blood sugar goals. Medicare, if you are on insulin, if your family member's on insulin, Medicare will pay for the Dexcom sensor. It's only if you're on insulin. They won't pay for it if you're just on metformin. There is one out there called Stello, which is from Dexcom,
Yes.
and it's for somebody without diabetes. It's not for your type 2 or type 1 patients. And I haven't gotten that yet, but that's my next thing I'm going to try. Hopefully, I can hit up my pharmaceutical rep and they can just send one my way. But if not, I'm going to pay for it. But it's if you have high blood sugar or low blood sugar symptoms, you must check your blood. You sometimes cannot rely on that sensor to give you the accurate information. So for my patients taking insulin, those are the cautions we give them, but can be an amazing device to have a really interesting window into what happens to your blood sugars when you go to sleep. And guess what? They don't go down, they actually go up. And so it's knowledge, it's education. I think the more the merrier, but it can be a little overwhelming for some people.
Yes. Thank you, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Lori, you have a question. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I'm sorry for coming in late, and thank you, Arena, for putting these workshops. They're really informational. I started to be a caregiver of my mom 3 years ago, and I got diagnosed with diabetes. So it's been a roller coaster for me. But I have one question for Kim. I really don't like the monitors because I get stressed out every time I see the numbers go up and down. So I'm not going through that. But I don't like pinching myself in the fingers because I type a lot. So what I've been doing is checking it right on the upper arm. Did that make a difference of the readings or not?
That is an amazing question. Thank you so much for bringing that up. There are alternative site testing. It's almost like that CGM. It's almost like it's in the past. It's not the moment that you test your blood sugar. So sometimes patients are testing right here on the meaty part of their hand. We're still in the hand area, but we're not on the fingertips. So here, sometimes you can test it. And there's actually a special lancet for testing. The other places we have people tested is right here on their forearm. Right around here, because again, it's still close to the hand. So up here, a little further away, I try to get a little bit closer to like finger area. That would be fine. It doesn't bleed as well, but it might be okay. But also on your fingers, never test on or the middle part of your finger. The sides of your finger, like almost the bedding around the nail area. There's a lot less nerve endings there. And it's not your tip, it's not the middle part of your finger, so it may not affect you if you're typing at all. So just turn to the side. Your finger, the side of it is really kind of, and for feeling, it's not the most sensitive. So that could be something you could try as well. But that's an excellent question.
Thank you so much for this. And again, thank you, ladies. This is really informational.
Catherine, I see you have to go. We will have this posted. I also, please reach out. I'll tell you. It will not be posted in our Diabetes 101 group. It will be in Diabetes 101 for caregivers that I wanted to talk a little bit right now. So reach out and I'll help you to get there to see the recording if you are interested. But thank you for joining and have a good visit. And Felicity, you need to unmute yourself with the question.
Yeah. So I have a question, and I loved the whole thing. I have to say that I think it was excellent, very, very, very good. And I was a caregiver for my elderly parents, and they both had type 2 diabetes. And so I will say that and I know Irina is taking care of her mother now. And, a lot of us have been in that, have been or will be in that arena. Anyway, long story short, the one thing that I think, and I may have missed it, but a really huge element of my taking care of my parents and other people who are ill or whatever is caregiver burnout. I think that that is such a huge thing and should be, any kind of any activity that can be promoted, any resources. The burnout level is just intense and it's all encompassing. You can't get away from the problem because you're taking care of them. And so maybe just a suggestion to address that and things that you can do for self-care and groups that you can, tap into for self-care for caregiver burnout.
Absolutely. Thank you, Felicity.
Yeah.
And this is a great question. I don't know, we didn't practice with you, but you did a good introduction to my next slide that I wanted to share. And because this is something that I wanted to tell everyone who is joining us today about the activity that I am starting again. Couple years ago, I made this Facebook group. It's called Diabetes 101 for Caregivers. I made it also public, but I haven't been there at all. There are 4 members at the moment. And as I said, there are a couple videos that I made, couple posts, but this is it. I would like to it's not wrong. It's not that I would like to. I am converting right now. This is into private group. More than that, for right now, it takes 3 days. Facebook from public to private, it takes 3 days to make it private. So I started yesterday on January 27th. It should become private group. So I would like you to invite to join the group. I'm inviting you to join this group. And the plan, the idea is I would like for you and for me to have a place where you could come, ask questions that you cannot ask in a Facebook group where a lot of people have the diabetes. Maybe they are going through some emotional spike and they cannot really understand what you're asking about. They cannot give you the suggestion because they are very focused on their own problem at this moment. Sometimes all caregivers need to do, as Felicity said, to cry that I am so tired. I forgot when I took the shower the last time because I'm so nervous that I am just sprinkling myself and this is all I do. I don't remember when I spent time reading book or watching the TV because I'm so tired of this. This is the place that I would like you to feel safe to come and cry if you need to, because we will be here for you, helping you out and sharing and understanding, and maybe we could exchange ideas. Hey, I tried that and it worked for my loved one. Maybe this will help you. And so it's the same idea. You come here and you find the solutions. I don't want it to be public for this reason, because a lot of times when person has the health challenge, they think, I'm not saying always, but especially when they just finding, they feel lonely, they feel lost, and they can speak with people who are challenged with the same problem, but they don't see that people around them also affected by this problem. And this is what very often people who got diagnosis, not necessarily diabetes, it could be something else, they are so concerned about their personal condition, and they don't see that people who live with them under the same roof, who communicate with them on a regular basis, are also being affected. And yes, that caregivers burnout is a real thing, and this place, Diabetes 101 for caregivers, I would like that to be the place where you could uh, just come and breathe and cry and complain if you need to, or share something that you discovered that helped you in your family, that maybe it will help somebody else. And maybe, Iris, this actually could work for you and for, for other people who has the person with diabetes they're caring for. Look, apparently you show them your page. Show one of the posts that you think you need. I don't want you to take it out to the world and say this is for everybody, but bring them, share with them this specific post so they will learn not your emotions, but somebody else's emotions. And maybe they will get more, I don't know, careful about their own health when they constantly like, I don't care. I don't care because my life is over. Look, it's not only your life, it's also life of your people, of your kids, of your spouse, friends, things like that. This is something that I would like to implement here, inviting you to do that. As I said, this recording that we have here today will be posted here in this Facebook group, Diabetes 101 for Caregivers. The activity, such as the crash course, I intend to have every month. The next one I plan to have on February 15th. It also will be Saturday. It always, I will try to have it for 2 hours and don't go over it too much. Kim, believe it or not, we are actually in time, We probably will have more. No problem, Iris. Thank you for joining us and thank you for being, you are welcome to our to our club, the Caregivers Club. Um, uh, Probably we will have more activities, not only this crash course, events, but probably we will have classes, educational classes for caregivers, because sometimes we need to learn how to cook. Simple like that. Sometimes we need to learn how to shop, what exercises are good, what I don't know, meditation technique. All this we will start conducting here. And if you have ideas, questions, please don't hesitate to post it in the group, reach out directly to me. We will talk about it and see what we can do about it. So that is the end of this conversation. Right now, everybody here is very small number of people, and I'm just inviting you. I am planning on, if as the more activities we will bring, we probably will have this as a paid membership, because people I will be inviting to help us out, they sometimes are busy and this is their work. We will be offering classes and courses here, which are not free. People, have their business, and this is part of their business. But for right now, everybody is obviously like founders on founders strike, and let's become the members.
Thank you both so very much for this. I've learned so much. I know a tremendous amount of work has gone into this webinar. People don't know what they missed out, but it is fabulous. Thank you for the invite to the new private group. And it was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Aris. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Dawn and Felicity. I hope you we will work together on it. Felicity, we see each other regularly, so I am waiting for more comments from you. Dawn, we are working together and we'll be working together. So let's see how we can help people, what we can do together.